Okay, Facebookers and YouTube, welcome to my channel. Today, if you remember when I first started my channel, I had always said that there would be times that this would not just be a channel just about plants or fish, but I would deal with other things, spiritual issues, global issues, emotional, whatever you want to look at, health issues, whatever. So today I actually want to do somewhat of a spiritual message, and I know when you deal with stuff like that, it's not for everybody. So for those who feel willing to have an open mind, I tell you to stay with me. If not, do it, whatever you feel you got to do, but I'm going to do what I got to do. Now, 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11 and 12. Then he said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore into the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind came an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice." Now, I've read that scripture and that for a reason, because my message for today is I hear voices, but do not be afraid, because it's the voice of God. Now, I guess I had to start at the beginning. They say in order to really know the truth of something, you got to start from the beginning. Now, as a child, I was always what people would call a stargazer or a sky gazer. And what that means is I've always had a natural hunger for God or things of the Spirit. I've always believed that whatever I see in front of me, there's more. So if I see this, I know there's something up here. And I've always held to that and believed it, firmly in my heart. So if you've ever seen the movie Ghost, my journey is almost like that. But I was never fake how she was, like for profit. But okay, because remember there was one particular scene where she used to fake like she could hear in the spirit and see things, and then one day it kicked in, and she was like, it actually scared her so much. It was my favorite scene. She ran and she busted through the door because it scared the living daylights out of her. Because typically you're not supposed to do that. So in my case, it was almost not quite that dramatic, but when it kicked in, I felt like her. She was like, "Between me and you," she said, "I don't know how I'm doing this." And that's how I started to feel. Now, my very first one, it was easy, it was simple, it was not dramatic, it wasn't scary. The first time, my favorite group as a child was the R&B group TLC. So the summer of 1993, that would have been between their albums. I had a dream. And in my dream, I seen a red CD cover. It said Crazy Cool on it. And anybody who knows music history, their second album was called Crazy Sexy Cool. So I had told my older brother Maceo, we were walking, and I said, "Maceo, I know what TLC's next album will be called." And he said, "How could you possibly know that?" I said, "I seen it in a dream," which I did. said, well, what's it called? I said, Crazy Cool. And he was just like, okay, all right, whatever. He really didn't believe me. And I could see why. That's not typical that a person can just tell you something about someone they don't know hundreds of thousands of miles away or whatever. So when their album did come out, it was called Crazy Sexy Cool. So I missed one word, but I actually seen the CD cover, Crazy Cool. I was missing the sexy part. But so my brother, I went to him, I said, Maceo, you gotta admit, I did say that to you. He said, you did. Well, I mean, what's he supposed to do? Give me a gold medal? So back then, he didn't really think nothing of it. Plus, I'm his brother, so it ain't no big deal. My brother's basically seen the future. And that's known as, I think some people call it, Christians, we call it prophecy or whatever, but the scientific community calls it remote viewing. So, the next one I had, so once I had the first one, they did not stop. It just came one after the other after the other. Plane crashes, bus crashes, murder scenes. I could tell how murderers would be caught. What else did I see? I could see sickness in someone's eyes. If I looked at them, I could tell they're sick, something's wrong. Good stuff too, not just bad stuff. I could see, let me just get into the next story. So, we were due for a new church van. The old one was very, like the ceiling was caving in. And then the back of it, the light bulb was, it was a hoopty. So it was basically falling apart. So it had got to the point where the pastor and his wife, they had to take their two cars and get 3 people here, bring them back. 3 people here, bring them back. Because they didn't have the van no more. So I came from a Pentecostal church, and for people who don't know, it's always about prophecy. The Lord showed me this. The Lord showed me that. That's how a Pentecostal church is. So, but I never jumped on the bandwagon. I couldn't say the Lord showed me nothing because he didn't show me nothing. So until one day, me and my pastor were driving. He was driving, I was riding because I was like 15 or 16. I was young. And now this was my first vision. The first one I showed you was a dream. Then there was a scary one in between, which we are not getting into that. It scared the daylights out of me. I said, Lord, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. I said, I don't see the purpose of it. Everyone was telling me, well, that's just the Lord showing you what to pray for. And I'm thinking, if I can't stop it, but I still see it, what's the purpose? Why am I seeing it if I can't stop it? So I had went through a phase where I asked God to take it away. Please, I said, I don't want to do this no more. So he actually did that. He took it all the way away. He took the dreams, open vision, prophecy, remote viewing, spiritual discernment. It was gone. But being that I was starting to get used to it, not the scary part, but the other stuff, I felt weird once it was gone. So I would say, Lord, and I'm a dangerous prayer because when I pray, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but when I pray, it works. So I said, Lord, I said, I don't want that scary stuff like, but can you give me the rest of it back? So little by little, it started coming back. So anyhow, one day we're driving. I keep saying we're driving, but I'm riding with my pastor. And out of nowhere, ching! I see it was a red van against a brick wall. And then there was like raindrops on it. That's the main thing I can't forget. It had raindrops. So it's like it had just rained and the water was rolling down the side. So as we're driving, now I didn't know this. My pastor had actually bought it that same day. No lie. God strike me dead if I'm lying. He had bought it that day. So as we're driving past it, and then we're actually driving past the car lot where he bought it at. That's the craziest part. So when I got my little, I looked at Elder Palmer and I said, Elder Palmer, I said, it wasn't a question. I worded it as a question, but I already knew the answer. I said, Elder Palmer, I said, we got the church van. And he looked at me and he said, how do you know that? What makes you say that? You know when people, they play it cool because they want to see what you're going to say? That's what my pastor did. So he was like, what makes you say that? I said, I seen a flash in my head. And I seen a red van against a brick wall. And it has raindrops going down it. And he was just like, he looked at me really strange, like he almost couldn't believe what I was saying. But he knew, how could I be lying? Because he actually did buy a red van. So we went to the top of the hill. We made a left, and then a right, which basically it's a U-turn. We went right back down the hill. So we get there, he turns into it, and I don't know what I'm feeling. It's not really, I wasn't feeling like, look at me, I just seen the future. My thing was, it kind of makes you dizzy. Like it makes you feel like your feet are ahead of your body or something, or your spirit is ahead of your mind, because I had just told him that before seeing it. So as we pull up, I see this red van and it's backed against a brick wall. And when we get out, I start shaking my head like there's no way, this cannot be true. The raindrops were like drizzling down the side of the van. I'm like, no way. Because I seen it. How can you see something before you've seen it? Like, how do you possibly, who does that? And that was exactly what I just did. So, my time is good. I'm at 13. So, he just said, Brother Terrence, he said, I don't know how you did it. He said, but the Lord showed you his next move. Now, I'm not going to keep this one too long. This is going to come in parts because I have a lot to say. Over the years, God has shown me a lot. I don't really get too many dreams. The dreams was like 2 or 3 times. I mainly get, I get tons of spiritual discernment. We'll talk about that later. But what I mainly get, I call them ching. That's what I call them. They're only like 3-second, 4-second little snapshots, like. But I see events, I see scenarios, I see energy weights. And when I'm able to decipher what it is, powerful. But the point of me sharing this before I click this video, before I turn it off, I'm not doing this to market myself or so I can box it up and sell it. Because really, this is something that, in my opinion, my spiritual belief system, everybody can do it. So I'm telling it because it is something that happened to me, but I'm not special. Because the Bible said that God shines his sun on the just and the unjust. And when you think about what the sun does, it's not just for temperature and heat. The sun provides rays of sun. It gives you a means to, it leads you and guides you. Like when people are in darkness, they say, if I could just glimpse a ray of the sun. Well, guess what? His sun literally is available for the just and the unjust. So that means, and that's why it says the gifts and callings of God are without repentance. Because there's certain elements of who God is, even if you do not believe, because of who he is, you still get certain parts of him. And his ability to lead and guide you is available to the just and unjust. Anybody can pray if they really mean it. And if they keep their heart and minds open. Anybody can say, Lord, what should I really do? And I don't care what nobody says. If you're asking it and you really believe it, even currently, people say God doesn't speak now. Some people say that. I know different. You ask him for his guidance. He can